The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Thanks for joining us today with our e-learning entitled Develop the Magic and Manage the Talent.
We love this topic because it's probably what we spend the most time on, thinking about, agonizing over is how do we staff for success? And so we're going to talk about that very issue today. This is going to move at a pretty fast clip as a result of the amount of slides and examples. You might want to listen to it the first time and then maybe take screenshots, watch it again, take screenshots of things that really resonated with you and what you can do in your business. All right, so let's start. The things that your staff is looking for from you. And I love this leadership slide because it's just, this is what they want. Your team needs you to create the structure, systems, and disciplines to be successful. They don't like wishy-washy. They want to know exactly. You have to train them for success and train them how they can be successful in your business. Your team needs to know that you will surround them by the right talent. And that's true because if the front desk isn't a strength for them, or the assistance program isn't a strength for them, or even their counterparts or you as a leader isn't a strength for them, they're going to lose their interest and motivation to be at the top of their game. Your team needs to know that you're constantly thinking and planning to enhance the current talent. What can we do to bring on more strength to our team? And your team needs to know that you're updating the playbook and roster in order to compete ongoing. Now, the playbook could be services. The playbook could be your offense and defensive strategies in your business. But when you think about offense, that's all the services that you offer. Defense is all the systems you put in place to make sure those services can be enjoyed with ease and delivered with ease. So, anyway, let's go to the next slide after you give an opening, because I heard you want to speak.
Yeah, the thing that I think about when I look at this is that this is another one of those things that needs to be a staple when you gather. Leadership is solely about influence, our ability to influence others. And when we look at that leadership and creating structure, everything that we talk about should fit into that structure. It should be something that's consistent. I think to Terry, when we had the pleasure of being around and working with Van Council, the storied salon owner from Atlanta, and you know, his whole system is really in one slide that kind of looks like the universe, with a central point with all of these different kind of planets or circles going around the outside of it. And everything that they do, every training program, every guest consultation, that is his way. And so we need to, I think, learn from that to say that when we're in front of our people, we need to present in a consistent fashion.
Well, I think that the example that he gives is I'm going to create the playbook. And what is that? Is that you?
Yeah, I got a call coming. I'm not going to answer it, though.
Okay. So the playbook for him is every single customer will enjoy and be presented by the staff their iPad with all of their looks and suggestions. It's not a negotiable. It's how they do it. It's part of their playbook. And he's going to make sure that everyone's honoring the playbook. And I think that's a big deal and what differentiates himself, and which he says, if you don't use it, you'll have a real problem in my business. It's one of their core values, and what sets them apart in how they communicate with each other and how they communicate with the guests. I love this next slide, and I saw it a few months back, and Aaron sent it to me, and I stole it. It's your energy introduces you even before you speak, and this is just total leadership sense. Is when you're walking in, are you walking in as a leader, and are you going to speed that business up, put that business on the edge of its seat, or is it going to sit back and relax and nothing's going to change when you walk in the door? So your energy introduces you, especially as a leader, if that's one of the roles that you have to play in your business, which we should as owners. Okay.
And an example that I'd give on that is I was just had the opportunity to listen to Tony Robbins for 4 hours, and the introduction to him was done by another person who himself is a very good speaker, but not nearly the energy that Tony creates just walking into the room. And to see, there were, I think, 6,000 people in the room, and to see the energy raise as he came up to the stage, and not only did he enter with energy, but he demanded energy from the audience as well, in a very infectious way. And I think that sometimes it's easier. I know it is for me. It's easier for me to call on that energy sometimes when I'm not in front of our own company than it is to call on that kind of energy when we are in front of our own company. So I think that this is a good one to keep in mind.
All right, so now it's time. Now, before we start creating the magic and managing the talent, how are we and what are we looking for? How are we going to do it, and what are we looking for? And you've got to define what magic is for you. We always say to people, create the ideal profile of what you're looking for. You take yourself out to lunch, you sit in the corner with a cup of coffee or a soda, and you write every quality you're looking for. And then you can negotiate with yourself on those qualities, but at least you have an idea of what you're looking for. We could say we're looking for someone very, very friendly. We're looking for someone who has energy, who has charisma, whose eyes sparkle. But how are you going to prove and disprove that? I mean, what would be a terrific hire for you right now? And then define the process that we would take to gain the best recruit. What are we looking for? When they're recruiting for colleges, do you think they have an ideal profile written of what kind of athlete they're looking for to come in to honor their school and honor their program and be able to be coachable in their system? They don't just say, okay, everyone, let's just start looking around. They're saying, look, we need some outfielders, or we need some pitchers. Go find some great pitchers, and I want a great combination of left-handed and right-handed pitchers for me to pick from. So when we're looking at the schools, we still have owners that call the school and ask us to send them people, and they've never even looked in the eyes and walked in the door and taken a look at and watched them in action. What's the most beautiful thing about having schools in our network, and for you to be able to be part of any school, is to walk in and say, look, we're going to give back to the school by being a guest artist, or we're going to come in and show some of our best practices in the salon. And at the same time, we're going to be looking for the people that we want to step up to and consider recruiting for our business. So let's go to the next slide. We're going to scout for the right talent. Steve, what are some of the salons that are really doing it well when they're scouting for the right talent in our schools?
Well, I think there's actually quite a few. One is that they are present on a regular basis. It's not just kind of a hit and run, meaning they schedule their time and guest artist on they don't just schedule it one at a time. They schedule a series of them that may last over a year. They also take part in mini classes, which is a way to come in, not be in front of the whole student body, but be in front of the future professionals that don't have a guest at that particular point in time. Again, it gives you an opportunity to witness them and see them in a learning mode, and to just get to know them a little bit better.
Oh, see them in action, right?
Yeah. And then they take part in our hiring events, and of that we've had some really wonderful hiring events. But again, they're only as good, they're only wonderful when salons are there and actively participating and talking. And I can tell you, after the last one that we did, I was in the Lombard School, and I had a future professional that came into my office and said, "Do you know such and such a salon?" And I said, "Of course, they're friends of ours and good friends." And said, "Well, that's my dream salon. And I said, well, what have you done about it? He said, well, I talked to them last night at the hiring event, and I'm more convinced than ever that that's where I want to work. And it's that kind of thing that really creates magic for you as a business, because I know I'm not the only one that she told that was her dream salon. And if she told her friends and circle of influence in the school that day, then I'm sure that it created some energy specifically for that salon. The other thing is open your salon for our salon visits. We go out, it's usually once a month, and take the people that are nearest graduation and do a series of salon visits. So you might want to contact either one of our future professional placement leaders and talk to them about getting on the list for a salon visit.
Well, and even if you're not, I mean, if you have schools in your area, we've got people on this call that aren't from our marketplace.
True.
So go to school and even suggest an open house in your business. Bring people that are near graduation and host them for an afternoon. So don't think you're limited or that idea won't work because it's not Steve and Terry's school. Don't worry about that.
Right.
And you can go in and lean into what the options are.
And I always say, think about it in a win-win situation. What the schools need is great placement in the right salons where people can be in good hands and get into an earning situation for their future. And that's really what a school needs. So the school needs relationships with salons. They need that time from you. They need that investment of energy from you as well.
Well, and I think that if I owned a salon, I'd have to become a household name at the schools that I want to partner with. I would not be a stranger, and when I walked in the door, everyone would know who we are. Is there ways that you can make deposits into those school future professionals so they look up and see who's here, why are they here, they're the coolest, they have the most fun, they have this great video that they put out of the team saying they're recruiting talent. Oh, I just love them, and that's going to be one of my choices. But if not, I mean, I always say this in probably every phone call, silence is the enemy of success. So therefore, if you're being silent and think you're going to staff your business, I think you're sorely mistaken. So the next slide has to do with this all must complement your vision. Everything that you're doing must complement what you're trying to do. And we still have future professionals that are afraid to shake hands, look at people in the eye. We've got new people in salons that are still laying back and being almost an audience member in their own career. So you have to know that the people that you bring in must complement your vision. And if you can get them there, great. They might not start there, but you've got to get them there, and you'll be able to witness their growth over time. But you've got to teach them every part. I mean, even raising a young lady in our house, and Emma says, I'm not a lady, I'm a little girl. And Steve said to her, yeah, you're a lady in training. That's so true. You're a hairdresser in training. You're a successful hairdresser in training. And we have to do whatever we can to get you to be successful. And you wouldn't risk it in telling your children. You can't risk it in developing talent. So the next slide talks about who on staff is going to be responsible. This is the hardest part because if we talk about this, most people say, I need to hire desperately, but I'm doing hair myself 45, 50 hours. I don't know where I'm going to find the time to develop the talent. And it's a double-edged sword. If you don't, you're going to still be doing hair 40, 50 hours forever. If you do, it's going to be at the risk of those 40 or 50 hours. So that's why in our other e-learnings, and go back because they're in the archives, talks about are your hours of operation not only good for the customer but good for the business? Because in this environment of you having to be a trainer and having to be a coach and having to recruit and develop talent, your business can't be open so many hours that you can't accomplish that. So who are the coaches? Who are you going to select to help you? Do they understand their assignment? Have you written out exactly what you want them to do during Module 1, 2, 3, 4, which we'll go into in a moment? And then also, how are you going to compensate? And what Steve and I suggest is not compensating them with higher commission. When they have assignments, you give them an hourly rate, and they've got to show what they accomplished for those hours. But don't do it a tide, because when they don't have someone in training, now they're going to make less commission. No, it's not about that. You pay them hourly when they have someone, and their commission always maintains and stays the same. Okay, here's my coaching tips. I learned these from Pillsbury, and I love them to this day. In fact, I'm really trying to bring that back even into PSC. When you have a trainee and they come in day 1 or day 5 or month 3, you train them to be a student of your business. And one of the things that you do is you do something called before on-the-job training, during on-the-job training, and after on-the-job training. I'm going to model this for you a little bit. Someone comes in and they start with me. I'll say, go grab some water. We're going to sit over here, and we're going to talk about what's going to happen today. This is before on-the-job training. And this is the things that I'm going to be looking for from you today. This is the 3 items I want you to focus on today. And I'm going to be checking the 3 things from you: knowledge, skill, and attitude. Knowledge, I'll be asking you questions to see if you're able to retain what you're learning. I'll probably ask you the same question multiple times today, because the more we say it, the more I know you're going to retain it. I'll also be watching and asking you, once I know you know it, to step in and do the skill. And this will happen in a tell, show, do, review way. I'm going to tell you, then I'm going to show you, and I'll be checking for your knowledge. Then I'm going to ask you to do it, to check for skill, and then we're going to review it. You'll see this happen throughout our day today. That's before. Then during is during, and I can say, remember when we talked about this during the day, before we started? And then after on-the-job training is go grab another water, let's sit down, and I'll tell you, we're going to recap what we did today. And both of the before and the after on-the-job training should only be 10 to 15 minutes at the most. This isn't long-winded. These are bullets to keep them on their toes. By the 4th week or the 3rd week, they should already be sitting there with their water waiting to have this conversation with you. After on-the-job training is all about, let me tell you what I saw today, what I really enjoyed. I'm so pleased with the knowledge. I want you to step into your skills a little bit. You're still very hesitant. You're trying to be perfect versus allowing yourself to be a student. Your attitude was great today. I love the way you interacted with your staff, with the rest of the staff. Now, if they're quiet, I want you to lean in, look eyeball with the other guests, look eyeball to eyeball with the other team members. But all of this should happen every single day, whoever the trainer is. And then if you go to the next slide, that's what I talked about already, knowledge, skill, and appraisal of attitude. And knowledge is what they know, skill is what they do, the action they took, and attitude is, of course, how well they're fitting in that environment. Steve, do you have anything you want to add to those?
I think that, at least for me in my past and present, that's the toughest thing to do, is to realize the need to check in throughout the day, the before, the during, and the after, on these specific topics. What do they know? What is it they're doing? And the attitude appraisal especially is something, when you talk about, it's not once, it's every day, it's every time. It's easy to overlook, or it's easy to get busy and not do those things. And really what it does is it robs the trainee, it robs your team from having that time with you. So it's a big one that I need to improve on.
So when we look for the team, now we're looking at, it's called a SWOT analysis. You've heard us talk about this before. So when you look at the analysis of the team, you have to know where your team is currently to see who's going to come in and complement it. So You have to list the strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities, and the threats of your team. You can do it individually, or you can do it overall. And no one likes doing this. I'm getting ready to do them very shortly with our director team, and I have to get it scheduled. And once I get it scheduled, I'll do it. And it's hard because when you're communicating with them all the time, you think you're almost doing a SWOT analysis daily. But they've got to have that one-on-one time. And gosh, the more I read about it, the more I know this is my biggest weakness. So the discipline, the next slide is, and this applies to doing reviews or SWOT analysis or anything. Discipline is uncomfortable short term. Compromise is uncomfortable forever. And if we don't do it, we'll never get in the habit of doing it. Once we can create the habit in our discipline, this is true as a hairdresser, this is true as a leader, this is true as a parent. The discipline is uncomfortable short term, whether it's a diet, an exercise program, or anything. Once you get it, you've got it. But wanting to start a diet program, giving excuses, wanting to be more organized, hit more deadlines, do a review, that's uncomfortable forever. And gosh, if you have to be in the compromise mode every day versus discipline mode, you're always going to have a sense of guilt of letting yourself and someone else down. So we're going to go through some of the things on the SWOT. There's many things to look at, and we're going to go through some of the intelligences. The first one being multiple intelligence, and you can look up multiple intelligence as a Google search and do free assessments online. But it's not how smart they are; it is how they are smart. Every one of your staff has a different genetic makeup of how they think and how they accomplish things. And multiple intelligence finds out the way in which they learn best. Steve and I have two different styles of learning. He is very much an audio learner. Might not be the highest thing that he scores, but he can hear something and retain it. I can't. Audio is not my strength. My strength is visual. That's why I take so many notes. When I'm in an audio room, an audio lecture, I will hear it, but I write it, and I don't learn it until I see it on paper. So my visual graphics is my note-taking. Steve can just listen, not take many notes, and retain an unbelievable amount. So if you've got people in your room, like even for a staff meeting or for learning that's coming in, if they need visuals like me, you're going to have to provide them. That's why I always ask for an agenda, or I say, did you go to a meeting? Like Steve attended a 4-day meeting last week, and he wants to just talk about it. I've got to see it. I want to present me with something, an outline or something of how we're going to go through it, because just talking about it isn't enough. Then he gets irritated with me because why can't I just talk about it? Because I don't learn that way. And some of the people that you're bringing on staff don't learn that way either, or even your existing staff. Steve?
Well, it's very true, and kind of natively we're really only raised with two of the intelligences. One is verbal linguistic, which is what we hear, and the other is math logic, which is what we learn from a logical standpoint, how to do math. That's what traditional schools will measure, and yet we find certainly people that are drawn to our industry, they've learned that way all their lives, but it's not the way that they learn. And so it's just to keep in mind that people learn differently. A lot of people in our business are bodily kinesthetic, which is they've got to be doing it. They've got to be active to learn. Again, going back to Tony Robbins, that's very much how he teaches. He gets people moving, and he gets people changing the physiology of their body in order to learn and take in and remember. And that's just the way that he does it. There's also spatial, which is learning through pictures. There's There's interpersonal, which is with others. They learn best with others. Intrapersonal is they learn best by themselves. So there's lots of different ways, and the real key is that if we just send out a message one way to our team, we're going to be leaving some behind.
True. That's very true. All right, the next slide is all about social intelligence. These are all, I'm just making this stuff up, meaning giving them names. But we're looking for people who have great social skills or have to learn social skills. Eye contact, body language, walking in the salon with confidence and a position of strength. They learn how to small talk. They have to learn how to long talk and be captivating for 45 minutes. And then, of course, entertainment. All these things have to be learned. And it's not just go watch George. You have to really be able to understand how you have to lean in and do these things. I was with people this last week, and I thought, how do you not look at someone in the eye when you introduce yourself? It's just so foreign to me. But it's not foreign to them because they've never been taught any differently. They're comfortable not looking. However, in an industry where it's all about the human connection, they've got to get really comfortable being able to look in the eye, or they won't be trusted by their guests. It'll be an unspoken, uncomfortable. I don't know why I don't go to her. It might not be obvious, but there's something missing, and it's eye contact, because that will all create a level of distrust, and that's the opposite of what we're going through as we're trying to create loyalty in relationships. The next thing is team intelligence. Some people don't even know that they're not a team member. There's no I in team. Team intelligence is hustle, it's the pace, it's looking up, it's asking other people, what do you need? Constantly give direction to teach them how to think as a team member. And you have to say, if you're going to the back room and you're passing a team member, make eye contact with them to see if they need anything. Because if they don't, they might just nod at you. If they do, they might have their head say, can you come over here for a minute? But you've got to teach them how to be a team member and almost work with your eyes. I'm surprised that I walk in, every day I walk in, and as I walk into the building, I'm looking at the parking lot for garbage. You have to teach that. No one will see that unless you do. And then they're not going to see it unless you teach them to see it. And I walk in and I say, there's cigarette butts because we hosted an event this weekend as people didn't honor and use the smoke tower. There's garbage out there. Did anyone else see it? Did you see that the picnic table, they moved and no one put it back into the right position? Yeah, that's your job. And hopefully, with saying it every day, they start to learn it and they start to put the things back in place. I still think that teamwork is one of the biggest breakdowns in the business, because you're busy and you're almost resented for being busy. Because other 5 people are in the back room and you've got 3 guests going on. And what would happen if the whole team stepped in to help that one person? It's unbelievable to me that if you don't have a guest when you're on that floor, to some people it means you have no responsibility during that time until a guest is in your chair. And that's just so opposite of what the business should be putting out as far as energy level. Common sense intelligence. The older I get, some people just don't have any.
Can this be taught?
Well, I think it is. If you say, come here, what are you doing, where are you going, move over here, you should be here right now. The common sense, to me, the first 3 are all about effort. How much effort am I putting out there? And effort means I've got to learn other people's common sense if I don't have that myself. Common sense is, what does my attitude have to be on a daily basis? I have to limit the drama. There's no room for it. I have to give out positive energy. I have to show respect to my teammates, to my customers, regardless of the position they hold in the business. I've got to have loyalty to what we're doing. And do I fit? Common sense, intelligence is, how is all of this plan a part of a day. If you think about the people that are driving you nuts in your business, it usually falls on this slide. I mean, I know they're not team members, but where we go nuts is lack of effort, lack of energy. The drama drives us nuts. They're not paying respect to themselves or others. They don't fit here really. That's just awkward. So how we do things here, you have to teach that. And common sense intelligence is something leaders usually keep to themselves versus letting the people know. The next one is all about business intelligence. Is the numbers, the scoreboard, the performance standards, what are the KPIs, the key performance indicators we're looking for. We respond or celebrate, make shifts if the numbers aren't where we need to be. And the system is our business intelligence. So we've got to teach all of this during the process. And some of these intelligences are going to come more easily than others. And many times, even yesterday I met with a young lady and she knew what her average ticket was and she knew what her guest count, but she didn't know how to put it into practical thinking. You've got to teach all that and keep asking questions. She's been doing hair for 4 years, but never understood the business intelligence part of the business. Excuse me. Okay, so let's get into some meat. The timeline and expectations, I did it like this. Day 1, week 1, then month 1. You can see that progression all the way to month 12. I think you can get it done faster, but you need to tell them where they should be during this slide. This is where you should be in week 4. This is where you should be in month 4. This is what I'm hoping you accomplish by this point. This is where we should be. Don't just say day 1, month 12. And most of us will say, you're going to start here and then it'll probably take you a year in our program. But you don't tell them what the timeline is and what they can expect or what your expectations are at milestones during this. Now, if they're not following the system, like even in our company, we've got some areas that they nod that they know it, but then they don't do it. So knowledge is great, skill isn't executed. So we can give our expectations and that still not be accomplished. And should you allow them to move on if they're not hitting the expectations? I heard a great line the other day, and Steve helped me with it. We had someone tell us, we give things out on credit. Can you help me on this, Steve? We give things out on credit before they've earned it. And then because they didn't have to earn it, they don't understand the price of discipline for us giving them something on credit.
That's well said. That's absolutely true. We sometimes will rush people along in our system, and they didn't have to earn that. Therefore, it doesn't have the value. They don't value it because they didn't have to. They didn't have to earn it.
They don't protect it either. They don't protect it.
Right.
So let's give some examples in hairdressing. We give them 60 new customers without saying, hey, we're gonna give you the first 60. We don't have conversations about it. They think they're just the chosen one, and you're starting to just put people in their chair and they're gaining popularity. No, we're putting the first 60 in your chair. There's a big difference between the two. Also, we're going to put in 5 at a time. If you do well with those 5, we'll give you 5 more. We're not giving you 60 without checking how you're doing along the way. And because if you just do 60 and they can't keep any of those, you just allowed them to earn something that they didn't earn. And they can't take responsibility and they can't duplicate it. So don't give anything out on credit because it can't be on there.
When you say on credit, you mean unearned.
Unearned, yes. Okay, so let's look at a training schedule. we've been asked about this. How do you develop the talent? And this is kind of little, and I don't have my glasses in front of me. All right, modules and testing. Let's look at, I'm a brand new person. They should have exactly what's going to happen and what they're going to focus on for the first 4 weeks. Let's call it Module 1. Module 2 is your second set of 4 weeks, third set, fourth set, fifth set, sixth set. I'm going to do 6 months of modules. If I've got an absolute all-star, could I expedite that any way I want? If I've got someone that's having more difficulty, but I'm seeing progress indicators, it might take 8 to 12 months. But we're going to start off with 6. And let's give a view of what this could look like. During Module 1, all service is supervised. They will never do service on their own. During those first 4 weeks, the last thing they want to be left is by themselves. So we need to make sure that they're always with someone, and anything they do is supervised. I don't care if they're getting a cup of coffee or whatever. Until you check off that they got the cup of coffee right, or took a coat, or draped a cake, or escorted a guest back, you don't leave them unsupervised, because it lessens their ability. First of all, they could do it wrong, and if someone caught it, they'll think that's acceptable, and they'll continue to do it wrong. But you're giving them a commitment to greatness. The next part of that is they're going to master the salon tour during this time. During these first 4 weeks, remember, tell, show, do, review. So they're going to see salon tours. We're going to tell them about them. They're going to see them. And at some point, we're going to say, now we're going to do it together and review it. And at some point, we'd like you to take lead chair on doing the tour. But during these first 4 weeks, we want you to master the salon tour. It might not sound like a big deal, but you're teaching them how to talk about your business. You're teaching them to give the speech. You're teaching them how to say what they're feeling about their excitement of starting their career. And you're starting to give them great scripted dialogue. So make sure your tours are worthy of great dialogue, great professional pass-off, great introductions, way to upsell the wash house, talking about your color bar, talking about your service menu. Don't let your tour be generic. Let it be great, because all of that dialogue will be able to be used behind the chair, and also when they start to go out on the street and introduce themselves, try to attract new customers to the business. They're also going to have their introduction to the wash house, teaching them dialogue about the wash house. They're going to be learning during that time the signature shampoo, how we do it here, what we say, and they're going to understand the whys. Why is this our way of doing the shampoo cleansing experience in our salon? So really, the first 2 things that they're going to be learning during the first 4 weeks is the shampoo, the wash house, and the tour. And if you think about it, those are 2 great places to start. And they start to gain confidence. And you want them to say to people, well, what are you learning right now? Well, as far as the services I'm learning is the tour, the wash house. Also, on my technical days, I'm starting to learn other things. So what they're going to be observing is the wash house, image profiles, cutting and grooming, chemical services, styling, guest services, product knowledge. They're going to be observing all that during the month, but what they're learning is the tour and the wash house. They give them assignments during these 4 weeks, maybe test them out and do an evaluation after it's over. And also, they'll have technical days in there when they'll start doing application of maybe learning a haircut. They're not going to master it. Maybe they're going to learn it. Whatever you decide your technical training on top of what they're learning in Module 1 on the service floor, they're also going to have classroom time with you, and you decide what you want them to focus on during the classroom. Module 2, the next 4 weeks, is you've got them now to an unsupervised service. They now can do shampoos and treatments without anyone, because during the 4 weeks they tested out in Module 1 to be able to do that. Color positioning, we're going to start to teach them how to prepare the color trays, how we're going to present color to the guests, the color preparation. We're going to be mixing color at the color bar. We're going to be assisting with highlights, but it is all supervised, and they're also going to be doing color application for color touch-ups, and maybe all over color mannequins until they learn the touch and the way, and giving them styling on mannequins. And we're going to be teaching all of that during downtime, also on technical days. They're still going to be observing a lot. We're going to give them an assignment, and they're going to test out an evaluation. That's the second 4 weeks. See how we're doing so far. Is it making sense?
Oh, I think it's really good.
So Module 3, we're going to be going into unsupervised service in Module 3. They're going to be able to do color touch-ups, all over color, shampoos, treatments, and basic blow dries. This is what they're going to be doing in Module 3. So you have supervised, everything they know, and now this is an unsupervised service they can do. They'll still be observing all the other things when they don't have a guest themselves, that they're doing color touch-ups or anything on. Technical training now is going to include men haircut, hair cutting, color placement, bleaching, and styling. They're going to have assignments and testing out and evaluation. Module 4, here comes our unsupervised service, color touch-ups, all over color, shampoos, treatments, basic blow drying. Very similar, but we're going to now expand their technical training some more. So when you think about, you might want to add some more unsupervised service on here, and maybe technical training and doing and focusing. Maybe you want to name, maybe there's 7 basic haircuts you teach in your business. And during Module 3, you're going to concentrate on haircut number 1 and 2. Module 4, you're going to concentrate on 3 and 4. Now we're going to Module 5. Maybe it's 2 more haircuts and dimensional color. And Module 6 is the last, maybe 3 haircuts. You've got to play with this a little bit. But if I saw this as a trainee, I'd know exactly what you're trying to accomplish with me. That's the beauty of it, is now you have them involved in. I mean, as you can see in Module 5, I'm not just doing basic blow drying now. I'm starting into my styling. And what do you have to do to make sure that you're staying on track with these modules? Excuse me, I needed a drink. I love that some people will excel. And can you give them more assignments at night if they want it? If you've got someone who says, look, I cut every night on my mannequin head. Good. Here, take this one home. I'll give you another one. If you've got someone that's, chomping on the bit to do more and be more, give them extra assignments, extra credit off to the side. And let them see. If you've got someone who needs a tutor, figure out how you're going to do that too. And that's why I tell you, when you're trying to build talent and you're still doing hair behind the chair for you, how are you going to do that? How are you going to accomplish that?
So Terry, give me an example of an assignment, and then also the last line there, testing out.
I'd have them have to present it, because remember, this business is all about presenting. I'd have them present out in that module a series of questions that they'd have to do aloud, because there's people that say, I can't talk in front of people. Well, you're going to be a hairdresser and you've got to talk to your customers. So even if you do a one-on-one test out, but I'd give them a written test too. I'd give them the test ideas that they are going to be tested out. What are you learning during this time? Would I have it on dialogue? Absolutely. But what did we cover? What are the main things I wanted to get from this module? After it's all over, at the end, I would probably have them do a final presentation to us. And maybe the panel is the staff. And they've got to present and make a huge, huge deal out of it. I think I'm going to go to that in just a second. I don't think I put it on here yet. And how is that final test out? before you start accepting guests. Now remember, what I love about business is there is hairdressers in training who also / are assistants. When you're in a module and you can do shampooing, that means you now are qualified to do shampoos for the people that have earned to have an assistant. It's not you do shampoos for anyone, only if you earn to have an assistant. So there's different people in the position. Number one, there is someone in training. Someone two is a hairdresser who is building. They've been released to the floor, and now they can start accepting guests. But when they don't have a guest, they also can still be used as an assistant in the business. And then there's staff who are fully committed in the business who are allowed to use assistants because they've earned it. So you've got 3 different levels of staff that are working in the business, each one. Just because I'm released on the floor and I'm growing in the salon, until I'm fully committed, I should be able to be used in the business any way the business deems fit.
Absolutely.
Okay, so now it's time for me to do a SWOT individually on Jane Doe, who, how's she doing? You have a question or something?
We kind of blew past Module 5 and 6.
Oh, I did?
It's just more of the same?
Just more of the same, but it's going to give even more information because you're building them. What is the unsupervised service you're going to allow them to do? Maybe modules 7s and 8s past the 6 months is now they are allowed to do these types of clients, haircuts. But you'll decide where they can go. But these are the first 6 months.
Okay.
All right? So let's do this Jane Doe analysis. Here's all of her strengths. And I give you one because some people go, I don't know what to write. Okay, so I did a pretend one. Her strengths are her image, her taste level, her makeup's always done, her hair is always styled. Punctuality, she's been on a time, 100% her attendance. She's given positive energy to the business. She's leaning in and wanting to learn. Her desire and willingness to learn is unbelievable. She's got a great hustle factor. She's looking up. She's connecting with guests and all team members. Her positive chatter from team, I'm hearing outstanding things from the team about her. And she's studying outside the salon by doing extra work at night. And her knowledge is, she's ahead of schedule. Her attitude's outstanding. Her weakness is that she has fear. She always thinks she needs more time, that everything has to be perfect before she'll take a chance or will attempt anything. And she's afraid to answer the phone. That's a weakness. She's checking her phone too much if we're not keeping her busy. So busy equals great, slow equals phone. That's not good. Much of this is due to the lack of example by staff because they're on their phones too. Her grammar, not surprised at this, is very common. She has a lot of slang and improper dialogue. And her dialogue, not surprised at this, is very common at this stage of the game, early in the salon. Really sounds like a kid in an adult business. So those are weaknesses.
Mm-hmm.
The next one is her opportunities. Is she's testing out beautifully on color, ready to apply all over color and assist senior team. And her threats is talking to guests with ease. Conversation with guests is awkward. She's trying too hard. She's trying to have conversations like, how are you? And they say, and she doesn't know where to go next with it. So she's got the energy, but she doesn't have the social skills, the social intelligence we talked about either. It's just choppy and not smooth. All right? So that's an example of, so if we don't get her to not try too hard, she's going to create an awkward relationship or awkward. It'll be awkward to sit in her chair. Okay, here's the final test and presentation. I knew I had it in here. So now you have this, and if you do SWOTs periodically with her, or talking about her strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats during those 6 modules, now you're going to teach at the end that she's going to present in front of the panel. She has to do whatever cuts you decide, and maybe they're not told in advance. On mannequins, this would be done. Styling, foil placement, color services, image profile. She has to do salon dialogue in front of the panel. And she's going to do 1 live model and then she's going to test out. But she's got to present all of this. So her mannequins will all be there. She's going to do one model. She's going to test out on her dialogue. And then if she passes, this is a huge, huge celebration. But during the 6 months of going through all these modules, and more necessary is to get her up to this part to present in front of the panel. Can you imagine the extras that have to be done to get ready?
I think in order to do this final test, we need to have ways to document what it is that we're looking for in each of these areas. Because if we don't, it's going to wind up being, do we like them or don't we?
Like it.
Yeah, it's going to be very subjective, and it really needs to be specific in order to give kind of teeth to this whole module program, to this whole training program. And it's too often training programs are put in place in salons with the best of intention, but they really don't follow through on a day-to-day basis, on a week-to-week, month-over-month. It's more a rite of passage with the calendar pages turning than it is specific learning. So I think that when you get to this, if you have ways that this panel can evaluate and write down, catch them doing something right, catch them on things that they can improve upon. It can't just be a rubber stamp that says, okay, you got it, move on, and we need you behind the chair. So it wasn't perfect, but
good enough.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it is a moment of truth. It really is that trainee looking back and saying, did you really mean all of this? Or can I get by?
I think that after you do this, you want to push them hard. You got them on the floor. It's time to start. And I would at times tell the front desk, I want you to schedule her tight this afternoon. This is just something I used to do when I was teaching people to wait on tables. And I might go up to the hostess and see if this applies mentally to you. I might go up to the hostess and say, triple seat her right now. And the waitress I'm training almost would lose it. But what I was able to do is I knew I was going to jump in, that I didn't have anything. And so you schedule yourself a little lighter when you do something like, you don't tell them that you're going to be available to jump in. You want to see how much pressure they can take. And so you schedule, maybe you have 2 guests at the same time. And now you say, it's all right. What are you going to do first? Direct me through what you're thinking. And you help them through it. But do they have what it takes to be okay during that? And sometimes you've got to lean in and give them more than they think they can handle. And I like doing that. I like to, and afterwards I say, see, you did it. You did great. You did great. After you went into what you know versus the emotional side of it, you handled it beautifully. And so you want to push them a little bit and see what they're made of. Not for them, let them see what they're made of. It's powerful, and you want to coach up. And I remember looking at them and saying, look, I'm right here. Direct me. Where do you want me to go? Use me now. Remember when I used you? Now you need to use me to your advantage. And they say, okay, go get this, get this, good. Great, good decision making. So you almost have to test them so they can see, my God, I do know this. I've got this. And it brings out the greatness in them in a really great way. And you know what? You keep them calm. Now, in an emotional business like ours, they might go, oh my God! Okay, breathe, and we're going to get through it. But how do you teach them what they're made of unless you show them what they're made of? And then the last slide, and then we'll open up some questions, is how will you know that this is a good fit? And you're going to listen to your guests. you're going to listen to your team, and you're going to listen to your gut, because you know, we watch the show, Blue Bloods, and I know we talk about it a lot, and I've seen one just recently, and Tom Selleck, who's the police commissioner, he said, you never have to talk yourself into the right decision. Never. The right decision's like, yep, right decision, but a bad decision, or if you're second-guessing yourself, well, I think, yeah, probably the wrong decision. You never have to talk yourself into the right decision, right fit, right move forward, right lean in. And I don't know. Right now, I've got some things that I'm thinking about. Even when I say it, I say, am I trying to convince myself? You don't have. That's it. You never have to convince yourself of the right decision. That's the proper verbiage.
Mm-hmm.
And gosh, that's so true. And even when if Steve asks me something, if I go, oh, I don't know, or I'm trying to defend it too hard, it's probably not the right decision. Okay, let's open it up for questions or comments, or what do you think of this topic, and hopefully it was helpful. We enjoyed putting it together for you.
Brian, are you opening it up?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Mickey, you had a question?
Oh, I'm sorry.
This part of training and development is so hard. It's the discipline. Remember, discipline is difficult and uncomfortable short term. Compromise is difficult and uncomfortable forever. What's the alternative if we don't train? And if it's all resting on us still. In training programs, if you want greatness, they have to be great. Develop and manage the talent. Got anything? Oh my gosh, you can't be that quiet out there. What are you thinking about? How much time do we have left? 2 or 3 minutes?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What are you thinking about?
I'm just thinking about the fact that this is an easy thing not to do. Working on a training program, because we've been there. Terry, even internally us, we've been there. It's easy not to work on a training program. It's easy to, at least for me, to just think people are going to get it. They're going to watch it. They're going to view it. They'll get little bits and pieces of the values of the company, and they'll get it. They'll learn how to contribute. Roll up your sleeves. Get to work. And I think that I really found refreshing what you put together with the 6 months of modules, and certainly it's at best an outline form or format. But if a salon was to go back through and put their own information in it, I think it could really make a difference.
We've got in our customer service division, we have a new young lady by the name of Kate starting with us, and a minimum of a month. I know that. Minimum for a month. And I even told Lexi, before on the job, during, after on the job, and tell, show, do, review. I hope I told her that. And knowledge and skill and attitude appraisal. Because it's kind of like someone starting new, and I know nothing. Their confidence level of knowledge is 0. Their confidence level of skill is 0. The only thing they can really give you at first with confidence is their attitude. The other two are dear God in heaven to them.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but if you say, here's your module, they're going to lighten up a little bit, because I'm only supposed to know the tour and wash house right now. I'm going to cut myself. I'm going to observe all these other things because they're going to come into my bag of tricks. But the two I have to master right now are these.
Mm-hmm.
Any questions, comments? Are we done?
I think we're done.
Great.
Thank you all so much for joining us.
Thank you, everyone, and please feel free to leave us an email, or if you have a question that you're gonna, if you're like Steve, you're gonna think about things all day and then have a question, just get a hold of us at PSC. They'll direct you to our email or voicemails, and we'll get back to you as quickly as possible. Have a terrific week, and go make some magic out there.
Very grateful for your time. Oh, I see hang on, there's a
Okay.
question mark here. Maybe one last question. Oh, it's just a thank you from Tammy.
Okay.
You're very welcome, Tammy.
Thanks
you,
for
being
everyone.
with us. Bye-bye now.
Bye now.